The coronavirus that originated in China in mid-December 2019 has gone from nothing to a dominant global force in just 2 months. Its spread from China to the rest of the world has swamped media coverage, decimated trade flows, pounded financial markets, and commanded the attention of key heads of state and policymakers. The only thing outpacing the spread of coronavirus effects is the spread of news about it. How far-reaching is this planet-wide problem? How long will it last? And how should we react? Well, news of the virus broke on the last day of 2019. Wuhan Municipal Health reported cases of pneumonia between December 12th and 29th. But it wasn't until January 9th that these were identified as a novel coronavirus. By the end of the month, the World Health Organization declared the outbreak, labeled COVID-19, to be a public health emergency of international concern. 1 month later, the WHO global and regional risk assessments were elevated to very high, although travel restrictions were still not recommended. At time of writing, the number of confirmed cases were in excess of 92,000 in more than 70 countries and in excess of 3,000 deaths. History is clear about the effects of widespread viruses on the economy. Against initial fears of economic meltdown in cases that span the SARS pandemic, avian flu, the Zika virus outbreak, and even records of the Spanish flu in 1918 to 1919, the effects caused great human loss and suffering. But the economy proved remarkably resilient. It doesn't seem to make sense. Why is this so? Well, speed is a key factor. Fast-spreading viruses are always surprise events, and until brought under control, chart their own course. Economic activity is interrupted so quickly and usually so pervasively that there are few alternative sources of supply to keep things moving. However, the basic needs of humans are still present each day, and those demands accumulate when unmet. Once the virus subsides, this pent-up demand is unleashed on the economy, and the bounce back is typically dramatic. To be sure, there are some permanent losses that will not be recovered. Restaurant meals that weren't eaten, business trips that were replaced by phone calls, hotels that were empty, food that spoiled, and the like. But even in these cases, recovery reboots money flows, and most of what was lost eventually resumes. Timing can be protracted if, as in COVID-19, successive waves of outbreak occur. The severity of economic fallout depends on human contacts and connections, but on particularly the integration of trade. Today, the tight weave of world trade, just-in-time logistics, and precise inventory management are producing a chain reaction that magnifies the impact. Moreover, the unfortunate coincidence of the outbreak with Chinese New Year, a time of particularly intense economic activity, well, that has further deepened the impact. These two critical elements of COVID-19, the duration and the severity of the outbreak, remain highly uncertain at this time, and this frustrates the business response. Disruption of product flows and goods in transit, well, that stalls orders, piles up inventories, and shutters production, which together arrest payment flows. Even healthy firms can soon find themselves in a cash crunch, unable to collect or pay. The more vulnerable, in desperate need of liquidity. Here, public stimulus is already playing a role. On March 3rd, the U.S. Federal Reserve moved a few weeks ahead of its scheduled announcement date, cutting its policy rate by 0.5%. This move was designed to keep monetary conditions accommodative and to support confidence of consumers, businesses, and financial markets. For our part, Export Development Canada is carefully monitoring the impact on Canadian exporters. We are not yet advising companies to avoid shipping to current hotspots, but we are encouraging companies to perform due diligence in advance. That is, to do their research using credible sources of information and to make informed decisions. EDC stands ready to support Canadian exporters through this turbulent episode. The bottom line? Few businesses anywhere are untouched by these developments. While there is good evidence that the growth of new cases in China is slowing and that the Chinese workforce is remobilizing, growth of new cases outside of China is escalating. A key risk is that many other countries do not have China's ability to control population movements and commercial activity. Even so, at this time, EDC expects the negative economic impacts of the virus will play out mostly in the first half of this year, with the bulk of the global rebound occurring in the July to December period. Vigilance is required on all fronts to control the spread and treat those affected, as it's now clear that taking this approach has results. Meanwhile, we can all hope for the discovery of an effective medical remedy. Until next week, I'm Peter Hall.